Good evening. The Municipality of Anchorage Platting Board Authority will now come to order for the evening, December 2nd, 2015 at 6:30. May we have roll call?
Mr. Young?
Present.
Mr. Edmondson?
Present.
Mr. Walker?
Present.
Ms. Enix?
Present.
Mr. Porter?
Present.
Mr. Cross?
Present.
Mr. Seward?
Present.
Mr. Fuller?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any agenda changes? Okay, we will now take up the approvals. May I have a motion for the action summary for November 4th, 2015? Trevor Edmondson moves, and Dan Young seconds. Is there anyone opposed to approving the action summary? Seeing none, the motion passes. Next, we will turn to the minutes. We have minutes for October 7th and November 4th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Trevor Edmondson moves, and Kevin Cross seconds. Are there any corrections to either of the minutes as presented? Seeing none, the minutes are approved. Are there any disclosures for tonight? Dan Young.
Yes, I have two disclosures. I'm going to put these together. If the board wishes to separate them out, they may, just for expedience. In case of S12206, Davison Park Subdivision, lots 1 and 2, my firm has current business dealings with the petitioner's representative on other matters. I am a former employee of the petitioner's representative. My firm has business dealings with AWU also on another project. And in case S12230, Resolution Bluff Subdivision, lots 1 through 18, my firm has special knowledge of the subdivision and the surrounding area. I have no financial or personal interest in the matters before the board. I can remain impartial in fact and action as a member of this board without personal bias. My past involvement and personal interest will not prevent me from fairly evaluating the facts of these cases.
May I have a motion directing Mr. Young to proceed in case S12206 and S12230. Trevor Edmondson moves, and Ken Fuller seconds. Mr. Edmondson, would you please speak to your motion?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, in case S11206 and case S11230, I move to direct Commissioner Young to participate in those cases.
Thank you. Are there any additional findings that anyone would offer to be on the record? Trevor.
I just want to say that I intend to vote in favor of my motion. As Mr. Young has stated, he's got no financial or personal gain from these two cases, and has stated that he can remain impartial.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. Mr. Young, you are directed to participate in case S12206 and in case S12230. Are there any additional disclosures? Don Porter?
Yes, in the case 12206,
S12206 Davison Park subdivision, lots 1 and 2. The petitioner and the petitioner works for my same firm, R&M Consultants, but I have no involvement in the specific case itself. So I have no financial nor personal interest in it insofar as I don't know anything about the actual case.
Okay. May we have a motion directing Mr. Porter to participate in case S12206? Dan Young moves and Trevor Edmondson seconds. Mr. Young, would you please speak to your motion?
Yes, I intend to support the motion to have Mr. Porter remain on the board in this case. He has stated that he has no personal or financial interest in the matters before the board tonight, and he can be fair and impartial. So I will support this motion.
Thank you. Any other comments? Is there any opposition to Mr. Porter participating? Seeing none, the motion passes. And Don Porter, you are directed to participate in case S12206. Are there any other disclosures to be made tonight? Thank you. We have informational items on the agenda. They are abbreviated plat action summaries for November 2nd, November 9th, and November 23rd. For everyone's information. That gets us to the consent agenda. May I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Trevor Edmondson moves, and Dan Young seconds. Does anyone want to pull any of the items from the consent agenda to discuss? Seeing no opposition to the motion, motion passes. The procedure to speak to the Platting Board at this meeting is after the staff presents their report. Then the petitioner is given an opportunity to present their case, and then the public will be invited to speak on the matter before the board. There are time limits established in the Commission Rules of Procedure, and they are that the petitioner and their representative are given 10 minutes. They may reserve part of their time for rebuttal. Representatives of groups, community councils, PTAs get 5 minutes. Individuals have 3 minutes. When you're asked to come forward, please state your name and spell your last name for the record. And after you're done, please stay up here because the board may have questions to ask of you. With that, we will now take up the case of S12206, Davidson Park Subdivision. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for a subdivision of 1 lot into 2 lots. The petitioner's intent of the subdivision is to create a lot for an AWU existing pump station and leave the remainder as parkland. While this is a simple subdivision of 1 lot into 2 lots, because the property is owned by the municipality of Anchorage, it must be reviewed and approved by the Platting Board in accordance with Municipal Code 2115-125A. The petition site is located on the north side of Rabbit Creek Road, west of Davison Drive. The property meets the minimum lot size, width, and width-to-depth ratio required by the R6 district and subdivision regulations. This property was originally created by the BLM as Lot 181. The east portion of the lot contains AWU Pump Station 30, while the remainder of the lot is undisturbed parkland. When Davison Drive was dedicated per plat 68-108, the entire 50-foot dedication came from Lot 181. As such, no further dedication will be required. No further dedication for the right-of-way is required. However, staff is recommending the petitioner make improvements to Davison Drive by constructing a 20-foot wide gravel street from its intersection at Rabbit Creek Road to fully front the proposed subdivision. No objections were received from the agencies or public. In summation, the department recommends approval of the plat for 18 months, subject to the conditions found on page 6 and 7 of the staff packet. If there's any questions, we can answer that. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff? Mark Seward.
I'm sorry, through the chair, a question for the staff. On page 16, I'm not clear of the diagram on the subdivision plat. You're calling a flag lot with the legal and physical access. Does this constitute a flag lot with the property line not following the 30-foot access easement?
Through the chair, Mr. Seward.
Through the chair, Mr. Seward, if I can answer that question for you. The original plat that came into the planning department was, in fact, a flag lot. The petitioner has come in with a revised plat to dedicate an access easement rather than a flag lot. All lots are fully fronted by either Davidson or Rabbit Creek Road, so a flag lot for access is not necessary. The access easement adequately serves the parkland directly behind this subdivision.
Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Is the petitioner's representative present? Will you want to reserve any time for rebuttal?
I would, please, yes.
How much time would you like?
Whatever's left.
Very well.
Good evening. My name is Dave Hale with R&M Consultants representing the petitioner. We have no objection to staff conditions of approval. So I could just answer whatever questions you guys have.
Thank you. You have 9 minutes and 47 seconds for rebuttal. Does the board have any questions for? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone from the public that would wish to speak on this matter? Anyone at all? Well, would you like to use your rebuttal time now? Right. The matter now rests with the public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve Trevor Edmondson moves. Would you please state your motion?
Mr. Chair, in case S12206, Davidson Park subdivision, lot 1 and 2, I move for the approval of the plat for 18 months, subject to the two conditions 1 through 6, as outlined on the case packets, pages 6 and 7.
And Christina Enix seconds your motion. Would you like to speak to your motion?
Just like to say that the petitioner indicated they had no objections to the conditions that were outlined by the staff in our packet here and the conditions of approval. There was no public testimony in regards to this case and the conditions, and upon review of the packet, I find that the conditions that were outlined by the reviewing agencies were addressed. So I tend to support my motion.
Thank you. Any other findings? Dan Young.
Yes, I want to, I find that there were comments from the public, and on page 22, not in the testimony, but in the written packet, and on page 22, the Rabbit Creek Community Council offered opinion. They were disagreeing with the zoning, and on number 4 of their page, they thought that this should be rezoned to PR and to PL1. And I want to point out that this is the Platting Board, not the Planning and Zoning Commission, and we don't have the authority to replat. So those comments appear to be relevant for tonight's case, and I'm going to support this motion.
Thank you. I also find that there was a public comment offered on page 45, Pauline Titus, I believe. Her comments don't address any of the issues that are raised with respect to Title 22 or Title 21 with respect to platting or our authority, and just has to do with how the city spends its money. Therefore, it's not relevant to today's hearing. Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing no opposition to the motion passes. We will now take up the case S12217, West Fork Subdivision. May I have a motion to postpone the matter indefinitely? Dan Young moves and Trevor Edmondson seconds. Dan, would you like to speak to your motion?
No, however, I intend to support it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there any opposition to postponing it indefinitely? Seeing no opposition, the motion passes. And that takes us to case S12230, Resolution Bluffs Subdivision. May we have staff's presentation?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is a request for subdivision of one tract of land into 18 lots and one tract of land with a vacation of a 60-foot wide gas easement and variances from AMC 2180-300D, lot width to depth ratio, AMC 2180-240, design standards for length of a cul-de-sac, and AMC 2180-300G, length of a flagpole portion of a lot. This subdivision is effectively a continuation of the final phase of Resolution Point subdivision located directly east and south of the petition site. The developer of this subdivision and Resolution Point are the same. The petition site is located west of Chiniac Bay Drive and Endeavor Circle in West Anchorage. The property is zoned R1, single-family residential district. Access to Resolution Bluffs will come via Cheverly Circle. Currently, the easternmost extent of Cheverly Circle is located within a 60-foot wide public use easement. This easement was dedicated with the first phase of Resolution Point subdivision to provide access to this particular parcel. The petitioner will be required to enter into a subdivision agreement for the required urban area improvements to both the street within the subdivision and the public use easement from Chiniac Bay Drive to the subdivision boundary. Staff is recommending the improvements include a 30-foot wide paved street, type 2 rolled curb and gutter on both sides of the street, and a 5-foot wide sidewalk on one side of the street. Tract 1 of this subdivision will be conveyed to the municipality of Anchorage to provide access to the Anchorage Coastal Wildlife Refuge and also to a future access for the southern extension of the coastal trail. The AWU facility located on Tract A of Campbell Lake Outfall subdivision currently gets its access from a 60-foot wide road easement that bisects the subject property. This access to the facility will be relocated and constructed by the petitioner through Tract 1 that will be dedicated to the municipality via Chevrolet Circle. The petitioner is requesting to vacate the 60-foot wide gas easement that serves the AWU facility. The vacation request has been reviewed and found to conform to the municipal vacation policy. The 60-foot wide gas easement was dedicated by Plat 2003-63 to provide gas service to the AWU facility. The gas service to this tract will be relocated to an approved location. As the easement will be relocated and to provide that service to Tract A as part of this subdivision, the existing 60-foot wide gas easement appears to be access to the public need. The petitioner is also requesting 3 variances with this application. The first is from AMC 2180-300D, lot width to depth ratio for lots 1 through 3, 11, and lots 15 through 17. Second variance is from AMC 2180-240, design standards for length of a cul-de-sac for Chevrolet Circle. And the third variance is from AMC 2180-300G, length of a flagpole portion of a lot for lot 1. I'd like to go through the 4 standards required for granting of variances. Standard number 1, staff finds that this standard appears to be met for all 3 variances. The topography in this area and the established neighboring subdivisions largely dictate how the property can be developed. The shape of this parcel and the location of the existing 60-foot wide public use easement just to the east of the subject property make the property difficult to develop without the granting of these variances. Standard number 2, this standard appears to be met for all 3 variances. These variances are dimensional in nature and will not be detrimental to public welfare or injurious to other property in the area. Standard number 3, staff finds that these standards appear to be met for, or this standard appears to be met for all 3 variances. The granting of the variances will allow the property to be developed with the allowed densities in the R1 district. It will have no negative impact on adjacent property and will not have an effect of nullifying the intent and purpose of the subdivision regulations or the comprehensive plan. Standard number 4, staff finds that this standard appears to be met for all 3 variances. Undue hardship would result for the petitioner from strict compliance with the subdivision regulations. If variances 1 and 2 were not granted, the property would be very difficult to develop. As was stated in Standard 1, the topography of the site and the development of the neighboring subdivisions create the need for these 2 variances. With regard to variance number 3, the site topography, coastal bluff, and lack of other access points restrict the lot configuration options. These constraints and the need to provide access to the AWU lift station require the development's single road Chevrolet Circle to turn to the northwest shortly after it enters the property. The lot layout around the curve would require the waste of desirable building area adjacent to the bluff within this subdivision. So staff finds that that standard has been met for all 3. That being said, staff would like to recommend approval of the variances, approval of the vacation of the 60-foot wide gas easement, and approval of the plat subject to the conditions listed on pages 9, 10, 11 of your staff packet. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Porter.
Yes, I note that the access to this subdivision is through a public use easement. Is that correct?
Through the chair, Mr. Porter, yes, that's correct. The 60-foot public use easement was dedicated with the first phase of Resolution Point subdivision to provide access to this property in the event that the last phase of Resolution Point was not subdivided and developed prior to Resolution Bluff being developed.
So then, will the Chevelli Circle be right-of-way or public use easement?
Through the chair, Mr. Porter, the entire length of Chevelli Circle from Chiniac Bay to the cul-de-sac will be dedicated right-of-way.
Thank you.
Are there any additional questions for staff? Is the petitioner's representative present? And will you want to reserve some of your time for rebuttal?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, my name is Jim Sawhill. I'm with Lounsbury & Associates and representing Hickle Investment in the application tonight. I'd like to reserve 2 minutes for rebuttal, plus whatever other time I have left. My presentation is pretty short. The proposal tonight is to subdivide 8 acres into 18 lots and 1 tract. On page 15 of your packet is an aerial photo that shows the outline of the subdivision, basically out on the point where Campbell Creek comes out of Campbell Lake. It's an isolated tract with some physical constraints around the bluff and 1 access that provides us access to this area. It's a beautiful piece of property. I think this is going to be a great development and a nice addition to the West Anchorage or South Anchorage community. We are requesting the vacation of a gas easement and 3 variances. And again, we've provided information that finds that all these standards have been met, and I would agree with staff's analysis that we have met all standards for the vacation and variances. There is an AWW lift station out at the end of the point on Tract A. It currently takes access through a road easement through this property. And as we develop it, we will construct a new access from the end of the cul-de-sac across Tract 1 to the AWW lift station. This access realignment has been anticipated for many years. There's an agreement with AWW that once this property is developed, that road access would go away and a new access would be constructed. So that has been in place for many years and will conform with that. We have no objection to the conditions of approval as stated by staff and would be happy to answer any questions.
No, we haven't gotten to the members of the public yet. No, thank you. Are there any questions for the petitioner's representative? You have 741 for.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any members of the public who wish to speak? Please come forward.
Howdy.
Do you represent any organizations or just personally?
Personal interest.
Okay, and your name is?
Mike Salai.
How do you spell your last name?
S-E-L-H-A-Y.
Thank you.
I guess my first question is there going to be access through track number 1 to the bluffs or to the inlet? Or is that track number 1 going to be a living area? Because, I mean, basically all of us that kind of live around there go down the existing haul road and get out to the inlet.
Okay.
Okay, and then my other question is the variance for the length and width on tract number 15. I was wondering if we could, I guess, just review that. It seems like those lots are going to be pretty skinny.
Yeah, basically, this is your opportunity to speak, but not necessarily ask questions. I mean, asking questions, you won't necessarily get answers at this point. If the board takes those questions up later and asks either petitioner's representative or staff, they might chime in on those issues. But this is your chance to speak.
I guess my opposition, or my chance to speak, would be to kind of maybe manage this proposed subdivision to be a little bit more friendly to some of the folks that live on the existing resolution point. And yeah, I guess that's my one concern that I have.
Okay.
That's it, thanks.
Well, hang on. Does staff have any questions? I mean, does the board have any questions? Dan Porter has a question for you.
So it's Mike?
Yeah.
So your question about access to the bluff, and I'm looking at the plat and I'm looking for tract 1 and I'm having trouble finding tract 1. And okay, so
there's going to be access to the plat.
So I guess that's my question: is what are your access concerns a little more in detail?
Well, currently everybody goes down that existing pump station road to the inlet, I guess. The existing pump station road is kind of shown starting at tract 15, and it's that darkened area on the plat that kind of routes through 15 and 13 and then ends at 1. It kind of goes through directly west through the northern part of the subdivision, the proposed subdivision, I guess. I don't know if you can see it on your drawings, but there's an existing pump station road that goes basically along the south end of Camel Creek drainage and meets the pump station property at the south end of the pump station property. And so my question, I guess.
I mean, they're going to have to get access to that. That's a pump station right there?
Agreed, yeah.
So they're going to have to get access in a different way, and I believe that's being resolved through the staff comments that they.
Yeah, it sounds like that their access is proposed through the Chavigny Circle, and it goes through that tract 1 that's just at the south edge of the pump station. But what I'm asking, I guess my biggest concern is that tract 1, is that private, or are people that live in that neighborhood still going to be able to go and ride bikes or snow machine or whatever out on the recreate out in the inlet, or is that going to be a private residence? And I'm just doing this on memory, maybe it's not tract 1.
No, it is tract 1.
Okay.
Let me read to you this condition 6. Construct an access driveway to MOA driveway standards through proposed tract 1 to serve the AWW facility on tract A. So the answer is tract 1 is going to have the driveway.
Okay, and that will service the pump station. So is tract 1 also going to have a residential house on it where me as Joe homeowner in that subdivision or in the new subdivisions that were just recently created going to still be able to access the bluff or the inlet through that area to recreate? I mean, tract 1 currently, right now, it looks like somebody's going to be able to buy it.
Through the chair, if I may, I believe I can answer your question pretty easily. Okay. Tract 1 is going to be conveyed by the petitioner to the municipality of Anchorage. It will serve two purposes. One, to provide access to the coastal wildlife refuge, and two, to provide access to the AWU facility. So there's going to be a driveway that will be constructed by the petitioner through Tract 1 that will provide access to that AWU facility. But to answer your question with regard to access to the coastal trail or the Anchorage Coastal Wildlife Refuge, it will be public access.
Okay, well, thank you.
Dave Whitfield, that public access will be along the Chevrolet Circle down to Tract 1.
That's correct. The current road that you're familiar with that you access the Coastal Wildlife Refuge will be relocated and it will be served through Chevrolet Circle. There'll be a driveway that will be constructed by the petitioner to serve the AWU facility, and you will be able to use that Tract 1 to access possible future construction of the coastal trail as well as the Anchorage Coastal Wildlife Refuge.
Thank you for the clarification.
Are there any other questions? I have a question. How much foot traffic winds up going out along that bluff on that road?
Well, I've been going out there for about 30 years.
On a daily basis?
Yeah, I mean, everybody that lives on Campbell Lake, you know, as kids, we grew up out there in Campbell Lake, and we'd go duck hunting out there, and that was our access mostly out there. We'd take our snow machines out there, you know, to the Campbell Wildlife Refuge. Now that this place has been populated back there with these last 3 subdivisions that were just recently built, I'm assuming there's going to be, I mean, these houses are on, you know, they're condensed more than the Endeavor Circle subdivision, which is the one that I own a lot on, is, you know, those are 18,000 square foot lots. Well, these recent ones that have been put in are condensed a bit more, so there's going to be more populace back there. People from Bayshore.
No, I'd like you to stay on point.
Sorry.
The question is, how much foot traffic goes there on a daily basis now?
I would say that you could sit there after work and watch people going back and forth out of there on a daily basis, cross-country skiing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying to be difficult. I've never really counted people, but I know people use it every day.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
My name is Mark Johnson, Johnsson, and I currently own and am building a home on Lot 15 of Resolution Point. And as Mr. Sahil mentioned, that's a beautiful piece of property that we're discussing here tonight. Unfortunately, that piece of property was directly in front of my lot. Obviously, I had a lot of concerns about that. I contacted the developer, expressed my concerns. They were very open and forthright about my concerns, and we have resolved all of the issues that I had. And I'd like to add that the development of this new subdivision, Campbell Bluffs, is really, I think, a tremendous addition to the Anchorage Bowl. I think when everything is built out in both Resolution Point and the new Campbell Bluffs subdivision, it'll be one of the premier housing developments in the city, and I support it 100%.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mark Johnson? No, thank you. Is there anyone else from the public who wishes to speak?
Good evening. My name is Dylan Watts, W-A-T-T-S, and I'm here on behalf of my mother, Marilyn Watts, who lives at the end of Endeavor Circle but is out of town this evening. And want to express concerns on the variation on width to the lots from municipal standards, and then also to traditional public access along the utility road to the wildlife refuge from the houses further along the utility road up towards Campbell Lake to the north of the subdivision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that all you wanted to?
That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Watts? Don Porter.
Dylan, that discussion earlier in regards to Tract 1, is that satisfactory to you?
The Tract 1 being reserved as, or conveyed to the municipality certainly is a great step. However, it doesn't preserve the traditional easement public access that is happening along the utility easement, which is not a public road. It has a trail feel to it. You don't have to go on a city street to access the wildlife refuge. The access from the, I think, other people who are also, you see every day, accessing along there, walking their dogs or just themselves to the wildlife refuge at this spot. I think they prefer to have more of a trail feel, and if a trail easement was available on the backside of these lots or some other way of access, it would be a more satisfactory solution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin Cross.
Thank you. Which lot on Endeavor Circle does your mother own?
I'm not sure which documents you have to look at, but her lot is number 12 on Endeavor Circle.
All right, very good. Excellent. Yep. And I do see that she has a testimony. It's page 85 of the public hearing notice. And unfortunately, my copy is fairly, it's a poor copy, so I'm not able to read the direct quote that your mother wrote in this. Is it possible that somebody can provide either a better copy or can read it out loud? Because I can see where Miss Marilyn Watts, 4231 Endeavor Circle, that's your mother, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
See where she's got public testimony, but I'm not able to read this from my staff packet. Is it possible someone can translate this for me? Or do you have the original copy? Was it Dwayne?
I do not. I don't actually know what her written statement.
Okay. She actually has a written statement on testimony. I would love to hear what her exact concerns were. Appreciate you coming this evening.
Thank you.
Dave?
Through the chair, Mr. Cross, I will go ahead and read the comment for you, and I do apologize that the copy was not really legible, so I apologize for that. Ms. Watts says, "For me, this is very troubling. I use the Anchorage Coastal Refuge a great deal and value my location. I object to vacating any easement that is associated with the Abu Station access. My property borders this access. I enjoy looking out my window to see a stand of frosty natural trees, as well as the ability to easily access the slough from Campbell Lake to the tidal flats. Thanks for your consideration." Period.
Excellent, thank you. So just quoting your mother here, she has two primary concerns. One is access to the coastal wetlands area. And if we've established that Tract 1 that's adjacent to the Campbell Lake Outfall subdivision is designated to the municipality, is in fact not only going to provide that road, but also that access, as accordance to page 4. 4 right-of-way comments, section D, specify ownership, proposed Tract 1 in the plat notes with a proposed tract of a vacation of the 60 easement, provide access for Tract A. So that addresses the concern. So I guess the other concern from your mother on 12 is that she enjoys the trees behind her lot, and she's afraid that those will be removed and she'll lose her view. Is that correct?
That sounds correct.
Okay. And if she's Tract 12, from a set of these prints, excuse me? Yeah, northwest. So she's 12 on Endeavor. I don't see that her lot directly backs up. I can see where it still backs up to the old easement, but I guess I don't see where her lot directly backs up to where they will be clearing out for the lots. Yeah, she'll actually have more trees because they're abandoning and so One thing I would like to bring out for your concern, if you want to take a look at this print, and maybe this will ease some of your mother's concerns. Here's her lot 12. Here's where the old road goes, and the subdivision will be here, and they'll be eliminating that road, that 60-foot easement, and putting the access here. So in fact, from her tract 12, her tree line looks like it'll maintain. So she is 12 Endeavor Circle. So she's been coming onto the access and accessing here. So I just want to point out that from the looks of the print here, there won't be any activity directly behind her lot. So she, all intended purposes, should maintain her tree buffer. Excellent. Well, the access component would be off Chevet Circle, which would be down here off the designated track 1.
Sir?
Okay.
Sir,
Excellent.
I need you to stay on the microphone, otherwise we don't get all of your statements on the record.
Please excuse me, Mr. Walker.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
To address Mr. Cross's comments, the view shed from her lot potentially could be improved, although I have no comment on that. But I think her concern would be the direct access that she currently enjoys from the utility road would be eliminated, even though that access would be maintained from Cheveley Circle. That utility road component of trail-like access would go away.
Thank you. Mark Seward.
Chair, question there. This is called a gas easement. I'm not sure if your mother even has the legal access to that. We're dedicating this right of way, and then track 1, there will be guaranteed access to the bluffs. Because right now, I think that gas easement could be blocked off. I may be corrected. Maybe staff can answer that for me. But thank you.
Through the chair, Mr. Seward, you know, I would say that these are private easements to access the AWU facility. This is private property. You know, while I could be wrong, I haven't done all the research behind the actual easements, but and perhaps Mr. Sawhill can elaborate on this, but I believe your mother may have been enjoying access through this property to the bluffs, which this property is actually private property, and she may not legally have had access there. So by dedication of right-of-way of Cheveley Circle, as well as the conveyance of Tract 1 to the municipality to provide that access to the Coastal Wildlife Refuge, I think that the access will be retained so that your mother can continue to enjoy it, just not along this corridor that she currently does.
Thank you. Christina Enix.
I actually had a question for staff. So I think I know that trail behind your mother's house. It's that road that starts at the beginning of Resolution Point behind. When they make this new access through Track 1, are they going to demolish that road, or is it going to be even touched?
Through the chair, Ms. Enix, the road that is currently there's two easements. One is the gas easement that was dedicated by plat. The second is a road easement that was dedicated by document. It's the intent of the petitioner to vacate the gas easement with this platting action and vacate the road easement by other means, typically by document. So they will do away with that access altogether, relocate it through Cheveley Circle.
But they're actually going to take that road apart? I mean...
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And how would they do that?
Through the chair, Ms. Enix, I believe Mr. Sawhill could probably comment on that better than I.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Mr. Watts? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak?
Good evening. Michelle Stickney, Stickney, homeowner. My husband and I are homeowners on Lake Campbell. We are owners of the easement, in part, that you people think is public access. It is not. We had to go through some gymnastics, and that's been relinquished, just as the gentleman over here said. AWU has a right to that road. It is not public access. For anyone who wants to come and go, it's across our private property, and that goes all the way out to the inlet. So to answer your question or to your comment, I don't think that road's going to be destroyed without some discussion. So just to let you know a little bit about that, I can't be declarative. No one from Hickles have talked to us as the homeowners that have that the road that goes past our homes there. We have had increased traffic uninvited through that road with no permission granted. So there's some issues there that need to be addressed. We didn't realize that that was going to be part of the deal. So Hickle needs to talk to the homeowners along there if they're going to destroy property or just take the road out. We've paved it and so on in our area. A question that I would also like to bring forward is related to the, it says on page 5, Anchorage water and wastewater utility comments. It says water, AWU water is not available. And if public water and wastewater services are desired by the homeowner, I'm just a little curious as to how that process might work. Are we going to, if that's been thought through, and perhaps he can, the representative from Hickle can answer that. I'm concerned about what's going to be necessary for providing water and sewer, public water and sewer in those areas. Those are my questions at this point. I appreciate the document. I will have to share with you that 15, 16 days notice on a hearing for some of us is kind of short notice, and following in the kind of holiday season is difficult too. So just ask you to kind of keep that in mind when you present these things to folks. And this packet I didn't see until tonight, so I can't really address it as well as I would like to. But if you have questions, I'll try and answer them.
Thank you. We do have questions for you. Christina Enix.
So as part of the conditions for approval that was set forth by the municipality, number 3 is to enter into a mainline extension agreement with AWWU for water and sewer. So that's going to be something that they'd have to resolve in order to build. They wouldn't be able to build that many homes without it.
Okay.
So it's part of the conditions. And I don't know if you've got that pack. Well, you must have.
I just got it tonight, so I haven't read it thoroughly.
So if you look at page 9 through 11, those are all the conditions that currently the municipality has put forward as conditions of approval. And they might answer some of the questions. They might not.
I have to admit, this gray hair, I'm not a speed reader, so I'll have to take some time later. Thank you.
Yeah, but they did address that particular one with the water.
Okay, thank you.
Don Porter.
Yes.
Yes.
Could you tell me your first and last name, please, and spell it?
Now, wait a minute. That's asking a lot. Michelle Stickney, Stickney.
And please clarify where you live.
Lot 5, Block 1, Point Resolution Drive, or Resolution Point Subdivision.
So, okay. Yeah.
We are at the corner, if you will, the corner of 100, with Point Resolution Drive and Endeavor Circle on the lake side.
Okay. Yeah, somewhere over this way. Yeah. You indicated you paved a portion of maybe on page 15. There's an unnamed road.
Yes, we did.
What we're referring to?
I believe that's the present road that we have a gate, a coded gate to get on that access road. AWU has key or code, whichever you want to refer to. So it's vehicular traffic is limited to those who have a gate code.
Okay.
Or remote, in that case.
I understand now.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? But it was our understanding at the time all this agreement on that access road If AWU were to vacate, it would revert to us as private property owners because it cuts through our private property because we own to the lake edge. And this road cuts through our property.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any more? Kevin Cross has a question.
Thank you. So, looking at the print, and again, I'm going to revert. Don't think that you have the advantage of this right here.
May I step over there? Or
excuse me? You may.
May I step over there?
It's my understanding that actually your pavement ends closer up to the lake, and then it's dirt that continues down to where the Campbell Lake Outfall subdivision. Is that a pump building? Is that what that is?
I may have given a misconception here. We paved only our portion of the road that is on our property line. Well, we actually paved a little bit more because that person didn't want to pave some, but we didn't want the dust. And
excellent. And as far as you're concerned about the rest of the road going away, I think basically what happens is I don't know if anybody's, according to the print, it's just the very end of this road that accesses that station where it cuts across what is lot 11 of private property. There was an easement. That's the easement they're looking to abolish, which is on lot number 11 and just this corner of lot 12 on Chevelli Circle. So it looks like most of the road will stay in the trail, but the very, very end access, the part that does cross and encroach across private property, is what they're looking to eliminate, this little section here. And in order to accommodate so that they didn't lose access to the bluff, this is where Tract 1 was established. So I can see where it's nice to have that trail that cut across and had an easement across private property to access it, but they've actually taken a larger area of their property and designated a more permanent route. And I'm hoping that'll ease some of your concerns.
Mr. Cross,
yes, ma'am.
I don't have a concern.
Oh, thank you.
As to what you're addressing, I think maybe I'm not presenting myself very well.
I think you're doing a magnificent job.
My concern, I truly understand, and I think they've gone beyond the call of duty, trying to give people access. I'm in point trying to clarify some of the information that came out from other people this evening about that road that's already there that is for AWU access to the pump station.
Okay.
It is not a public road. It is not open for just anybody who wants to go through for whatever purpose. And that's the only point I'm trying to make here. I fully understand the need to have access to the pump station wherever I'm assuming it's not picking up and being transplanted someplace else. So that's not a problem. My concern when you raised the issue, will the road be destroyed? I hope there's certainly a lot more discussion because I'm not sure that's really tied into this particular project, or we need to have some real face-to-face dialogue with somebody, because that's not the understanding that we had with AWU when that road was within the last, I've forgotten, 10, 15 years now, 10, 12 years? I can't remember. When that road was dedicated to AWU's access, not general public access.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes. Are there any other members of the public who wish to speak tonight? Anyone at all? Would you like to present your rebuttal?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, my name is Jim Sawhill. I'll try to address some of the concerns that I heard tonight. First of all is that access road that exists, and again, I'll go to page 15 of the packet. There's the portion of the access road that I'll say exists on the old Resolution Point, the original Resolution Point subdivision. It's indicated as an unnamed road. That road was created for access to the AWW pump station, and the other person that has a right to use that road is the Campbell Lake Homeowners Association, because it's the access to their dam for maintenance. So those are the two entities that have a right to use that road. The portion of the road that exists on those lots that front Resolution Point, we are not touching that road. That's outside the boundaries of our development. We are not looking to make any changes to that. The people that live along there have access to the gate. They do use that to get down to the lake for access for their float plane dock, and it's an important thing for them, and we're not looking to touch anything on that. We will be scarifying the road on our property and basically putting down topsoil and seed to restore that area and to have that go away. For the people that do access the wildlife refuge from that side, the track immediately north of us is the wildlife refuge. So as soon as they get to the estuary and get to where the creek is, they still will have access from that side to that. And they will also have the access through the Tract 1 once we dedicate it to the municipality. So we are creating a new access to AWW, and we're creating a new and what I think is a better access to the wildlife refuge and the future coastal trail. So those were mostly what I heard. I heard concern over the water service, and again, we will be extending water mains across there. The other thing I wanted to clarify is Phase 5 of Resolution Point is Cheniac Bay Drive, or the road directly to our west. And our intent is to develop Phase 5 of Resolution Point and Resolution Bluffs all at once. So we'll be dedicating creating the 15 lots and that street, and then our 18 lots all as one phase. It's two plats, but we'll construct them simultaneously. So we're not looking to extend road across the track. We'll be developing lots as we go. Otherwise, I don't think you can afford to do it. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any additional questions you might have.
Don Porter.
So what's got my interest up is Tract 1, and we seems to be referring to it in maybe two personalities. One is it's AWW access, which AWW has the right to fence it off because they want to keep their facilities secure, right? But we're saying it's public access down to the creek and some of these other areas. So I really want to know, which is it?
The tract will be dedicated to the municipality. It's our understanding from talking to the municipality that Tract 1 will be managed by the Parks and Recreation Department, so they'll have authority over that tract. The AWW facility currently is fenced, and their fence line is their tract line. So we will be constructing a paved driveway to municipal driveway standards across Tract 1 to their currently secured fence line. So Tract 1 will be, unless the municipality, once they own it, decide to do something different, it will be an open track, open to access to anyone.
That's exactly my question. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Dan Young.
Thank you. Through the chair. Mr. Sawhill, I kind of suspect you don't know the answer to this, but would there be parking on Tract 1, or that's up to the municipality if there would be parking supplied later on?
There'll be no parking on Tract 1 initially. If the coastal trail ever comes to fruition, I think the municipality is planning on constructing parking there to support the coastal trail. This will be a pretty major access to the coastal trail for this area when it comes, so parking there would be appropriate.
Thank you. And through the chair, I have a question for staff. Just give me a second, I'm sorry. On page 11, item number 7B, it says all lots are in the hazard zone 4 with a high ground failure susceptibility. In a geotechnical report included slope stability analysis shall be submitted and reviewed by the Municipality Building Safety Division of the Department of Services. Is there a reason the Geotechnical Advisory Commission will not review this report?
Through the chair, Mr. Young, typically that is done by our permitting department, specifically Ron Wild would look at this. It would likely be done under the building permit and not done as part of the subdivision. However, the Hickles can decide to bring in the entire subdivision as a whole, have it reviewed by Mr. Wild, or bring them in individually under the building permits. It will be evaluated at that time. But no, it does not typically go to the Geotechnical Advisory Committee.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions? Don Porter.
So I was looking through all of the staff conditions, and the item 6 says they have to do a driveway, but I guess, is there anything in here that says they have to dedicate it to MOA? Dedicate tract 1?
To tell you the truth, I haven't reviewed the conditions for that because we were going to do it. If you wanted to make that additional condition, we have no objection to that, but that is our plan.
Okay.
Yeah.
But if it's being dedicated to the public, will there be a necessity to provide an easement to one member of the public?
Through the chair, I just wanted to make it
Right.
black and white
Okay.
because everybody's concerned about access.
Right.
So let's make it black and white.
Dan Young.
Yes, through the chair, Mr. Sawhill. Is there any reason not to go through the Geotechnical Advisory Commission with the geotechnical report that's going to be prepared?
We would prefer not to. The current phases of Resolution Point basically have the same condition that we have to provide a slope stability analysis for each lot, and they're reviewed through the building department, and that process has worked pretty well. And I don't see any additional benefit or concern to the public with that.
Thank you.
Dave Woodfield.
Through the chair to the board, I would like to just address the conveyance of Tract 1 to the municipality of Anchorage. We have a separate agreement in place with the property owner to convey that tract. However, I would not be opposed to adding a condition that required that conveyance. So if the board was wanting to do that, staff would not be opposed to it.
Have there been any traffic studies with respect to public use along the bluff on this property?
As far as
Trail
walking
use?
traffic,
Walking, cycling, whatever?
no, we have not. I've been down there a couple of times this fall, and again, I'm there during the week, during work, so I haven't seen it in off hours, but we haven't seen anyone down there. There's moose. The moose like it.
It is 5 feet sidewalk. Is that going to be sufficient to carry the traffic along this area?
That's what's required by municipal code under the old code for the size of the street we're doing is a 5-foot sidewalk is what's required.
Even in areas where we're connecting up to one of the major thoroughfare trails?
Potentially, if the coastal trail ever gets built, which I hope it does, there could be more traffic, and possibly a wider sidewalk would be appropriate.
Dave Woodfield.
Through the chair to the board, addressing the width of the sidewalk, as Mr. Sawhill pointed out, a 5-foot sidewalk is a standard width for a subdivision such as this, and with no current plans to construct the coastal trail, I think at this point in time a 5-foot sidewalk is adequate. I think that it serves the community right now, and if it is deemed to be inadequate when the coastal trail goes in, I guess we'll have to address it at that point in time. But currently, 5-foot sidewalk is adequate, and it is in conformance with code.
Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you. Oh, Don.
So following along that vein, the 5-foot is the same as pretty much the rest of the subdivision if they even have anything, right?
In the new subdivision, we have a sidewalk down Chiniac Bay Drive, and we will be extending the sidewalk from Chiniac Bay Drive all the way to the end of this street.
So it's exactly the same as what everything else?
Yes, it'll be consistent with the rest of the subdivision then.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the public hearing portion of the meeting is now closed, and the matter rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve the request for variances? Don Porter, would you please state your motion for the record?
Yes. In the matter of case S12230, a resolution Bluff subdivision lots 1 through 18, I move that we accept the department recommendation for the approval of request for variances on page 9, A1. And B and C.
No, we just
No, we can't. We got to do them individually.
We can only do A.
Okay, only do A1.
Yeah, and just to restate your motion is to approve the request for variance from AMC 2180 300D lot width to depth ratio for lots 1 through 3, 11, and for lots 15 through 17. And then a variance from AMC 2180 240, the design standards, which is the length of a cul-de-sac for Chevrolet Circle, and AMC 2180 300G, the length of the flagpole portion of a lot for lot 1. Subject to recording the suitable plat within 18 months. Trevor Edmondson seconds the motion. Would you please speak to your motion, Don?
Yes, I intend to support this motion in the sense that the variance requests have been vetted through the comments from the planning department. They have met the standards 1 through 4, speaking to special circumstances. The granting of specific variance is not detrimental to the public. It's not going to nullify the intent or purpose and an undue hardship. Those have been addressed by the staff packet, and I believe that that's adequate, that they've adequately addressed those comments.
Thank you. Any additional findings from the board? Dan Young.
Yes, through the chair. There's been public testimony tonight about access, and by vacating the gas easement, there will be, what we found tonight through our discussions is that there will be access that will be different than it exists today, but there will be ample access that will go through track 1, and will address the concerns that were raised by the public with regard to access to the Coastal Wildlife Reserve. So I will be supporting this also.
Thank you. Kevin Cross.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to the motion. I also intend to support it. Again, the major concern was access, and I would like to point out that by establishing through track 1 a designated access, actually public safety will be increased. It'll be easier for fire and emergency service to access and get out into the wetlands to assist anybody and not have to use a designated dirt right-of-way if emergency equipment is needed. So it'll be a more established and safer route to access the recreational area. Thank you.
Thank you. Trevor Edmondson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to make a couple comments in relation to the variance requests and state some findings. That, you know, the topography of the area and the neighboring subdivisions, as outlined here in the staff packet, largely dictate how this property can be developed. That the establishment of Chivalry Circle and the public use easement that's there, it also is there doesn't appear to be another way to access this project and to conform it with municipal regulations. So also I'd just like to state, as I didn't hear any testimony tonight, that the dimensional variances will be detrimental to the public welfare. So as stated in the staff packet, it does not appear to be a detriment to the public or welfare or injurious to the other properties in the area. Also, granting of the variance will allow the property to be developed within the allowed densities of the R1 zoning district, so it will conform in that way. And also, just by not granting the variances that make this property very difficult to develop, and has been stated through public testimony, it seems that the project will be developed at a pretty high standard and one that will be a positive to our community.
Thank you. Dan Young.
Yes, to the chair, just a couple more comments on from the public testimony. There was a concern about the water source, and that is being addressed in the number C3 on page number 10. So that issue is being addressed. And there was also concern about the future of the existing access road. That was discussed tonight, and found that the only portion of the road that's going to be altered is the portion that's on this track that we're voting for tonight, and that's going to be scarified and reclaimed. But the remainder of the road will stay open, so it will not have any negative impacts, and the adequate access will be granted. So I just want to get those on the record also as findings.
Thank you. Thank you. Any further findings? I'd like to point out as additional findings that the first request for variances are all, none of them have to do with access. They're dealing with the design parameters, lot width to depth ratio, the length of the cul-de-sac and the flagpole portion. And with respect to that, the length of the cul-de-sac, in this case, I think the fact that the first portion of the property, the road passing through Track D is not being developed into houses, means that the density on the longer cul-de-sac isn't being increased, giving some additional support to why variance to that distance should be increased. And then, the mere fact that there's no way to put a road in here and have the lots be shorter than they are. It supports variation from the lot width to depth ratio. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, the motion passes. May we have a motion to approve the request to vacate the 60-foot wide gas easement? Don Porter moves, and Trevor Edmondson seconds. Don, would you please state your motion?
Yes, I move that in this case that we approve the request to vacate the 60-foot wide gas easement subject to the following conditions 1 and 2, which are resolved with Instar a suitable location for the gas service to Campbell Lake Outfall Subdivision Tract A. And item 2 is to record a suitable plat within 18 months of its approval and subsequent time extensions.
Thank you. Would you please speak to your motion?
As we've previously discussed, the gas easement is actually being used for public access, which is being addressed by Tract 1. So I intend to support this motion.
Thank you. Any other findings? I'd like to add that we're basically having a replacement of we're removing the gas easement and replacing it with a new location where the gas will actually be provided to these properties. Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. And can we have a motion to approve the plat subject to 18 months? Don Porter moves, and Trevor Edmondson seconds. Don, would you please speak to your motion?
Yes, in this case, I move that we approve the plat for 18 months, subject to conditions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, including 7A, B, C, and D, with the addition of item 8, which would be that Tract 1 be conveyed to the municipality for.
Thank you. And Trevor Edmondson seconds. Would you speak to your motion?
Yes, there's been quite a bit of discussion tonight about this plat, and I feel that both staff and public testimony have demonstrated support for this. There have been concerns brought up, but I believe that through discussion and also the things that that are required in the approval requirements address those concerns if they're there. So I intend to support this motion.
Thank you. Any Trevor Edmondson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I intend to support this motion as well. I'd just like to make one other comment. I heard a lot of testimony regarding public access to Anchorage Coastal Wildlife Refuge as well as to the future coastal trail. It's my opinion, based on what I heard tonight through testimony from staff and the petitioner, that actually this project will improve and provide a permanent legal public access to the future coastal trail and to the Anchorage Coastal Wildlife Refuge. So again, I intend to support this motion.
Thank you. Any additional findings? I think this is a good time to adopt some of the findings that were stated under in support of motion A. Some of them do discuss the issues of access. And I think those support the adoption of the plat. Is there any opposition to the motion on the floor? Seeing none, the motion passes. Are there any appearance requests? Any individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Platting Board takes. Appeals of this decision or any of the conditions are governed by AMC 2111-304. The decision of the board at the scheduled public hearing shall become final 7 calendar days after the date the decision is made on the record, unless a written request is submitted to the Planning Division prior to expiration of the 7th day to prepare a written decision based upon the record made at the hearing, and the request is accompanied by a written notice of intent to appeal. Adoption of the written decision by the Platting Board becomes the final appealable decision within 20 days of the final appealable decision. An interested party must file with the municipal clerk either a written motion alleging new evidence or changed circumstances per AMC 2111-503, or an appeal of the board's final decision pursuant to AMC 2130. I would like to introduce the board to Mark Seward. This is his first night of service, and I welcome you to our happy band of people.
Thank you. Look forward to it.
With that, are there any board member comments? I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Trevor Edmondson moves. Christina Nix seconds. All in favor? Say aye. Motion passes. We are now adjourned.